Phenom Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever will have new leadership on the sidelines next season. This comes in light of news that the Fever fired Caitlin Clark's first head coach in the WNBA, Christy Sides, after 2 seasons with the team. "We have parted ways with head coach Christy Sides," the Fever announced on Twitter. For the Indiana Fever, the 2024 season was one of unprecedented heights that found them setting the foundation for a future that is brighter than they've seen in a decade. Now we have information about what likely led to Sides' dismissal. Earlier in the season, Clark was asked about the best advice she'd received in-game, and her response was jarring. "Nobody gives me advice in-game. I wish," Clark responded. The answer disturbed many across the WNBA, as it's the head coach's job to make sure players are learning and prepared, especially rookies. Her inability to influence Clark on the court was likely an enormous contributing factor to Sides being let go. Team president Kelly Krauskopf released a statement on the official Fever website about the dismissal. "We are incredibly thankful to Coach Sides for embracing the challenge of leading us through an integral transition period over the last 2 seasons, while also positioning us well for future growth. While decisions like these are never easy, it is also imperative that we remain bold and assertive in the pursuit of our goals, which include maximizing our talent and bringing another WNBA championship back to Indiana." Coach Sides was an incredible representative of the Fever in our community, and we wish her nothing but success in the future. By the Fever's own admission, they want to remain bold and assertive, which Clark's comments showed management Sides was incapable of being. With 3 WNBA All-Stars surrounded by a young and growing core, Indiana reached the playoffs for the first time in 7 seasons and now has ushered in Stephanie White as head coach for the 2025 season. White, deemed basketball royalty throughout the state, spoke during her introductory press conference about what it means to be home and lead the young, upstart Fever. "This is coming home for me," White said. "It has been such an experience with this franchise for nearly 25 years from day one, and the opportunity to come home and lead this young, exciting, and talented team. This is just a special place, a special franchise, and has always been a part of my DNA. I'm so incredibly honored and grateful to lead this franchise and taking it to another level." In White, Indiana gets not just a coach of high caliber but a staple throughout Indiana. She sat at number 5 in career scoring in high school girls basketball before being named National Player of the Year while leading Purdue University to the conference's only NCAA championship in 1999. From there, she was a staple in the Indiana Fever's history, selected in the team's expansion draft for their inaugural season in 2000 before playing a role as an assistant coach on their 2012 championship roster, when Indiana defeated the Minnesota Lynx 3-1 in the WNBA Finals. In 2015, White took over for Lynn Dunn as Indiana's head coach for 2 seasons before moving on to Vanderbilt University, but the chance to come back to her roots made her most recent decision an easy one. "One of the things about this position is there's just so much familiarity with this franchise. It just feels like the stars perfectly align, and while at times, there's anxiety through a new transition, there just hasn't been any for me. When things are meant to be, it feels great," she said. White has compiled major wins throughout 4 seasons as a head coach in the WNBA while going 92-56 overall. She reached the finals in her first season with Indiana, followed by semifinals appearances in the last 2 years with the Connecticut Sun. The acquisition of White is just one of many major front office moves Indiana has made this offseason following Kelly Krauskopf's return as the president of basketball and business operations in late September and the introduction of Amber Cox, who assumed the position of general manager in October. Lynn Dunn, the former GM, was named senior advisor to Fever basketball after completing what she deemed a 3-year plan to get Indiana back into the playoffs. Now with the blueprint to success laid in a season of history led by the futures of their franchise, a homegrown head coach may be the missing piece to putting Indiana into title contention. The Indiana Fever is setting itself up to be a championship-caliber franchise after spending years as the WNBA's laughingstock. In 2024, the Fever made the playoffs for the first time since 2016 before losing to the Connecticut Sun 2-0 in the first round. Generational phenom Caitlin Clark, the first overall pick in the 2024 draft, led the team's regular season success. Clark ended the season as Rookie of the Year and a member of the All-WNBA First Team. But despite this historic rookie season and solid team performance, the Fever are not only celebrating. Instead, the Fever and Clark are looking ahead to the 2025 season, where they intend to be serious championship contenders for the first time in nearly a decade. Since the end of the season, the Fever's administration has completely overhauled its front office and staff. They brought in Amber Cox as the new GM and had Kelly Krauskopf return from her stint with the Indiana Pacers to serve as president of basketball and business operations. However, the most significant position change was arguably the firing of two-year head coach Christy Sides. Sides joined the team in 2022 as a first-time WNBA head coach and went 33-47.413 during her tenure. While some thought the team's playoff appearance would be enough to save her job, she did not show enough improvement for a team looking to win, and win now. The Fever ended the season with a 20-20.500 record. However, they started the season on an abysmal 2-8 run. Sides faced criticism for poor decision-making that may have cost the Fever games. For instance, on May 28 against the Sparks, Sides pulled Clark out at the end of the third quarter despite only being up by 4. Sides allowed the Sparks to go on an 11-0 run before putting Clark in the game, resulting in a Fever loss. Along with consistent struggles to manage the clock in the fourth quarter, one of Sides' fatal mistakes was her refusal to change the starting lineup. It took until the end of August for Sides to start defensive standout guard Lexie Hull over forward Katie Lou Samuelson, despite Hull being the more productive player. Most of Sides' poor decisions stem from the lack of trust she seemed to have in her new star rookie. Instead of allowing Clark to make mistakes and learn, Sides took game-winning opportunities out of her hands and did not let her play the fast transition type of offense that makes her so dangerous. Clark was visibly frustrated with Sides several times throughout the season due to the lack of trust she was receiving from her coach, especially since she was used to having more control of the game throughout her college career. In June, when asked about the most valuable advice she had received mid-match, Clark said, "Nobody gives me advice during the game." It seems the front office took notice of their star players' discontent with her treatment. The Fever were able to turn the season around after the Olympic break, thanks to Clark's newfound comfort on the court and her growing connection with All-Stars Aya Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. Despite Sides winning Coach of the Month in August, it was too late for her to save her job. Due to the rise in the WNBA's popularity, thanks in part to the Caitlin Clark effect, players, coaches, and front offices found themselves under higher levels of public pressure to perform. Sides took the job when the Fever's future prospects looked bleak. Since then, circumstances have shifted, and her role changed dramatically in a way she seemed unprepared for. She did what she could with her limited coaching experience and, despite the issues, led the Fever to the playoffs. However, she is not the coach the front office decided should be responsible for a generational talent like Clark. Perhaps Sides could have become a championship-level coach if given the time, but the Fever are unwilling to wait. Before parting ways with Sides, the Fever had already set their sights on a new coach. One day after the announcement that Sides was not returning, the Connecticut Sun announced that their head coach, Stephanie White, would not rejoin the team in 2025 after leading them to back-to-back semifinal appearances. Shortly after, White was announced as the Fever's new head coach. White has deep Indiana roots, first having played at Purdue University before spending 4 of her professional playing years with the Fever. With Indiana, she was the assistant coach for several years before becoming the head coach from 2015-16, leading the team to the championship series and their last playoff appearance until this past season. During the press release, White said she wants to help deliver another WNBA title to the greatest basketball fans in the world. White is the experienced basketball mastermind that the Fever have been missing and is one of the most respected coaches in the league. More important than her resume is the relationship and trust she is already building with Clark. White and Clark have spoken highly of each other for years, with Clark during a mid-season interview saying, "She has obviously called a lot of my games all throughout college, and I just think she has a really great basketball mind." Clark also commented on White's hiring announcement post, expressing her enthusiasm for next season. Meanwhile, in her introduction interview, which Clark, Boston, and Hull attended, White displayed her trust and admiration for Clark and her fellow young teammates, stating Clark and Boston would end up going down in history as the greatest. She also has made it clear that she trusts the players to do what they do best, something Sides was unwilling to do, commenting, "Everyone knows at the end of the day, players win ball games." With a new coach steering the ship, a prolific star in Clark, and a front office committed to building a championship-level team, the Indiana Fever are setting themselves up to return to the top of the WNBA. The 2024 season slogan for the team was Fever Rising. Doing just that, they have blown expectations away and show no sign of slowing down. Do not be surprised if, in the next few years, the Fever are raising their next championship banner at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. WNBA sensation Caitlin Clark has revealed that her love for practicing meant that she backheeled soccer in favor of pursuing a career in basketball. The Indiana Fever point guard's decision has proven inspired, with the 22-year-old having helped to transform the popularity of the women's game with her performances in recent years. Having first emerged on the collegiate scene with Iowa, she excelled in her maiden WNBA season en route to being named Rookie of the Year for 2024. Breaking 11 league records in her first season in Indianapolis, Clark averaged 19.2 points, a league-high 8.4 assists and 5.7 rebounds per game during the regular season. The superstar has now opened up on her younger days as she explained how her chosen sport became her passion as she reflected on her career to date. Having also enjoyed playing soccer, softball, golf, and track as a child, she explained during a press conference, "When I got into high school, I knew basketball was my future. I loved it, and I wanted to practice it. I think that was different. I wanted to get better. I wanted to spend time working on my game. That was probably what set that apart from all the other sports I played. The other sports were just fun with my friends. I was really competitive, but I didn't take extra time out of my day to work on my game and be better than everybody else. I think that's what helped me figure out the path I wanted to take." She added, "I had to give up soccer even though I loved it. It was just the will I had to want to get better at it. I loved practicing it, and at times, that's not something everybody really likes to do or wants to do or is so passionate about, something they love. That told me I wanted to have a future in basketball." Clark is currently enjoying a well-earned break from her WNBA commitments during the off-season and is preparing to make an appearance at a Pro-Am before the Anica driven by Gainbridge on the LPGA Tour. Looking forward to rubbing shoulders with a host of golfing stars, she admitted, "I don't know what I signed up for. Free lessons. That's how I'm looking at it. Pull my phone out and record every single one of their swings. I love doing these types of things. This is what I'm really passionate about. I'm passionate about women's sports. For me, it's fun. People think basketball is a job. No. I feel like I should find a job in the off-season. I get to play basketball every single day, and I know there are a lot of people who would kill to do that." The Fever starlet added, "I just feel very fortunate. When they asked me to come down here, I was like, yeah, I can get away from the Indianapolis cold. I get to play golf with some of the best. This is amazing." Caitlin Clark has shut down talk of leaving her basketball career behind to become a golfer. After an extraordinary debut season in the WNBA, Clark revealed her earlier comments about trying her hand at professional golf in the off-season were merely a joke. Clark, 22, took the league by storm in 2024 and has already been credited with transforming the women's game. After being drafted as the #1 overall pick, she led the Indiana Fever to the playoffs, landed a spot in the All-WNBA first team, and claimed the Rookie of the Year award. But her legion of loyal supporters were left concerned when she quipped about turning pro in golf following the Fever's playoff elimination. She set tongues wagging again as she prepared to tee off at Wednesday's The Anica Pro-Am event in Bel Air, Florida. Clark will play with golf greats such as world No.1 Nelly Korda and 10-time major winner Annika Sorenstam. But she put worries to rest on Tuesday by clarifying her previous cryptic comments. The point guard said at the LPGA Women's Leadership Summit, "You know, having my first WNBA season behind me and being here is super cool. I've tried to take as much time as I can to practice, but there is only so much hope. You just cross your fingers, pray. No, I've practiced a little bit and I just had the quote about becoming a professional golfer. Everybody thought I was serious. I was not serious. I love it. I love being outside and making it competitive with my friends." Clark revealed she played golf with her father growing up and looked up to PGA Tour star Rory McIlroy. And while she is nothing short of a basketball phenomenon, the former Iowa Hawkeye star calls herself an average golfer with about a 16 handicap. Before participating in her second Pro-Am, she humbly said, "Usually, I'm just praying to break 100. I'm strong, and I can hit it. It just usually doesn't go straight. I mean, sometimes it goes straight, but it depends. You just step up there and hope for the best. I just don't want to hit anyone with a golf ball. That's my number one priority." There's no mentioning basketball in 2024 without the inclusion of Caitlin Clark. The 22-year-old Indiana Fever guard took the WNBA by storm this season, leading her team to its first playoff appearance since 2016 and earning the prestigious Rookie of the Year award. Her entry to the WNBA alongside a deeply talented roster of fellow rookies marked a groundbreaking season for viewership and revenue. WNBA champions the New York Liberty felt Clark's impact early on in the season, as its May matchup against the Fever generated more than $2 million in ticket sales, the AP reported. Liberty power forward Breanna Stewart said, "I think the buzz and eyes that Caitlin has brought from Iowa now to the WNBA is going to be a collective win for all." Stewart's prediction seemed to ring true, as the WNBA reported in September that the regular season saw a 48% increase in attendance compared to last season, with more than 2.3 million fans, the highest numbers the league's seen in 22 years. Television viewership rose, too, making this the most watched WNBA regular season on ESPN, with an average of 1.19 million viewers. But there's more to Clark than just basketball. This week, she'll show off her golf skills at the LPGA's Annika Pro-Am, and she's also a talented soccer player. Here are other things you might not know about Caitlin Clark. Read the original article on Business Insider. It doesn't matter if she's suiting up for Iowa or the Indiana Fever, it's pretty apparent that Caitlin Clark is fearless on the basketball court. Off it though, there's one fear that she just can't shake off. While at the Women's Leadership Summit this week, Clark opened up about her biggest fear in life. It turns out she's not a fan of cats. In fact, she's been scared of them since her early childhood. "I really don't like cats," Clark said. "There was this black cat on my street growing up that was so mean. So, I'm scarred. I really am scared of cats. I'm sorry if any of you have a cat. I like dogs a lot, but no cats." This admission from Clark may surprise people, but she's been pretty open about her fear of cats. During an appearance on former Iowa teammate Jada Jayamfi's podcast, the NCAA's all-time leading scorer shared another cat-related story. "The bad thing was the cats. I hate cats," Clark said, via Athlon Sports. "And they were running around everywhere. Remember we were eating outside that one restaurant, I think it was a Mexican restaurant one of the nights, and we went down the alleyway and there was a cat that was running under my feet and I was freaking out.